Out in the great expanse of the universe, there are things human eyes have never seen. Witness worlds of majestic beauty and strangeness. My name is Zero. I'm an artist and a historian, and I will take you on an adventure across the universe in the lost worlds of Zero. Out in the great expanse of the universe, there are things human eyes have never seen. Witness worlds of majestic beauty and strangeness. My name is Zero. I'm an artist and a historian, and I will take you on an adventure across the universe in the lost worlds of Zero. Episode 1. The Fate of the Kalfaki. From the islands of Kalfaki, on the planet of Drumetia, you could see the planet Telodian on the collision course. The Kalfakians were a race of peaceful elephant-like beings that numbered in the millions. They lived on tiny islands and communicated using loud trumpet sounds. These mystic Kalfakian had mastered the art of flight. These immense creatures would fill their lungs with Telosian gas and float high into the clouds. This gave them the ability to travel freely among the islands and populate the whole of the planet. Their ancient cities stretched across Drumetia, eventually connecting all the islands into one landscape. This massive population eventually drank the seas dry. They lived in peace until dawn of the last day, when doom came swiftly as Telodian smashed into Drumetia, destroying both worlds. The remnants of this destruction can now be seen circling the dog star Clumatian. In the Lost Worlds, aquatic humanoids live on many planets. It's just a question of knowing where to look for them. Every planet in the Lost Universe has its own traditional dances. Far-flung past, out in the vastness of space, there are many stories. I would like to tell you the story of King Draconian. King Draconian ruled the planet Augustine. Augustine was a small rocky planet with little water. The planet was so far from the sun that at midday it was like evening on most planets. Augustine's main resource was a type of mushroom called kanji. Kanji covered the planet and was harvested constantly. Kanji are highly prized for their taste and psychedelic effects. When the king was much younger, he was trained in combat, taught philosophy, and learned about honor. His father was still king then, and peace was always the way. The king had a special guard called the Falcon League. This league was made up of women who would defend Augustine with their lives. Not only were they expert pilots, but they were trained in hand-to-hand combat. As Draconian got older, his father passed away, and he was left alone. On the day of the king's 345th birthday, the Korgan Council detected a fleet of ships. It was the Oscarian Brotherhood, and they were on a course for Augustine. The Brotherhood is a ruthless group of mercenaries. Their skills are mostly pillaging and robbery. Their leader, Kevorkian, was a mad being who was driven only by the lust for power and wealth. The king went to his closest advisor, the witch Delphinica. Delphinica was more of an oracle than a witch. She, like her sisters and mother, could see into the future using a piece of the Rasmus stone. Delphinica told the king he must go into the center of the warp and retrieve the Rasmus stone. The Rasmus stone was found long ago, deep in a kanji cave on Augustine. The stone was found to have immense power, but thought to have been lost over the ages. With the power of the Rasmus stone, the king would have the power needed to defeat the Oscarian Brotherhood. The king put on his armor and went into the warp. When he arrived at the center of the warp, he was surprised to find the witch Delphinica. Delphinica is the sister of Delphinica. When the king asked Delphinica for the stone, she told Draconian the Rasmus stone was used to power the warp. At that moment, Delphinica used the power of the stone to warp the king into a misshapen shadow of himself. The Draconian was now turned into the Skeleton King, Arbarius. This new Skeleton King was sent back through the warp to destroy Delphinica. But this king was not sent back through the warp alone. The witch also sent a guerrilla army with their gravity weapons. The guerrillas were prisoners from the planet Hyperdonia. Their gravity weapons were used to crush enemies using gravity waves. When Arbarius and the guerrillas came out of the warp, they were met by the Royal Falcon Guard. The guard was waiting for their king to emerge from the warp. As the two enemies battled, the king landed on Augustine. When Delphinica saw the king's new form, she called for her cult. The cult quickly took Arbarius prisoner. The cult then brought the Velicorum. The Velicorum was a machine made with dark magic and sacrifice. The machine transported the guerrillas and the king, Draconian, back to the center of the warp with a new mission. The Velicorum had sent the king on a self-destruct mission. Destroy Delphinica, then destroy the Rasmus stone and close the warp. As the king attacked Delphinica, she realized it was her own magic that had given Draconian this new power. For this, she had no defense. The king used a gravity weapon to crush Delphinica. With Delphinica's magic gone, he reverted to his normal self. The king then took the stone and returned to the center of the warp. He then used the warp to send the guerrilla army home. When the guerrillas arrived on their homeworld, they were free from Delphinica and her magic. They returned to foraging in their jungle. The Draconian used the stone to close the warp, and as he left the warp, he was returned to his 245-year-old self. By using the stone to close the warp, he had reversed aging. Using the warp always leaves an effect on its traveler. You cannot be dematerialized and then rematerialized without losing a part of yourself. Younger and now wiser, the Draconian took the stone to Augustine. Using the stone, he destroyed the Brotherhood one ship at a time. He powered up gravity weapons and pulled their immense ships down from the sky. With peace restored, the good king took the stone deep into the mountains of Estonia. You see, the good king's father had left him a chart droid. This chart droid contained charts of the whole planet. Charts for water, charts for treasure, charts for every hidden place on Augustine. There was only one chart the king was interested in. The chart to the deepest kanji cave on the planet. The cave was said to be so deep it led to the planet's core, so the king packed up the chart droid, along with a small, deep-dive mining drone, the type used to carry supplies down to miners underground. With the chart droid and the mining drone, the king set out for this deepest cave. The king walked for days, and he found the entrance to the deepest cave. He took the deep-dive mining drone and followed the path of his ancient people, the path that led deep into the cave where the people gathered mushrooms. Giant carts littered the sides of the trail, as if ready to load kanji. At the end of the path, the king turned on the drone and set it to drop cargo at the end of the cave. He then loaded the stone into the compartment on the drone, and the drone flew up and deep into the cave, quickly out of sight. The king turned around and headed back to the cave entrance. He took off his crown and took off the heavy parts of his outer armor. He left the king's trappings on the floor in that cave. He then headed out of the cave. The climb now was uphill, following a different chart on the droid. The king stopped under a small kanji to rest. You see, not only are kanji psychedelic, they are also 30 feet tall and glow. Under the warm glow, the king remembered being young and wanting to do his best. His father was always proud of him, and this king had done his best. Going through the warp had taken so much from this king, he no longer wanted to be a king. Now he only wanted peace. The king then started on his path again. The path led deep into the Carthagi Mountains. Draconian followed the path to wherever it led, and he was never seen again.